The door opened with a soft click that sounded louder than a scream, and in that frozen second, a lifetime of trust collapsed inside one woman's chest as she saw the truth she had never wanted to imagine. Her husband's office, once a symbol of long nights and shared sacrifices, now held a scene that burned itself into her memory, and the silence that followed was heavier than any argument they had ever had. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength it takes to survive heartbreak, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel, Grandma Dearie. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. She had not planned to come early that evening. The dinner she cooked sat untouched at home, growing cold while she stood at the threshold of a room that smelled of unfamiliar perfume and broken promises. For years, she had believed that love was built on endurance, that marriage was about staying when things became dull or difficult. She had stood by him when his business struggled, when money was tight, when stress turned him quiet and distant. She told herself that the late nights were for their future, that the secretary who worked beside him was nothing more than a professional convenience. In that moment, standing unseen as reality unfolded, she understood how easily loyalty could be mistaken for blindness. The days that followed moved strangely, as if time itself was unsure how to behave. She did not scream, she did not beg, and she did not immediately leave. Instead, she carried the weight silently, waking each morning with a tight chest and going to sleep with unanswered questions pressing against her ribs. The greatest pain was not the betrayal alone, but the realization that she had slowly disappeared inside her own life. Her dreams had been postponed, her needs softened and reshaped to fit someone else's ambitions, and now even that sacrifice felt meaningless. Her husband noticed the change but misunderstood it. He saw distance where there had once been patience, quiet where there had once been reassurance. What he did not see was the war happening inside her, the struggle between the woman she had been and the woman she needed to become. She questioned her worth, replayed memories, searched for the moment where things had gone wrong. Yet with each tear shed in solitude, something else grew alongside the pain, a fragile but determined sense of clarity. Change did not arrive dramatically. It came in small, almost invisible steps. She began taking long walks alone in the early morning, letting the air fill her lungs and remind her that she still existed beyond her role as a wife. She returned to old interests she had abandoned, reading late into the night, writing thoughts she had never allowed herself to express. Slowly, she stopped waiting for apologies that might never come and started listening to her own voice again. The secretary eventually left the company, and guilt hung thick in the home they shared, but guilt was not the same as healing. Her husband tried to repair what was broken with gestures that came too late, unaware that forgiveness, if it came at all, would require more than regret. The true challenge was not deciding whether to stay or leave, but deciding whether she could rebuild herself regardless of his choices. There were moments of weakness, nights when loneliness wrapped around her tighter than anger ever had. But there were also moments of strength that surprised her, moments when she realized she no longer feared being alone as much as she feared losing herself again. Friends noticed the change in her posture, the way her eyes no longer searched for approval. She had begun to understand that love, real love, should never require self-erasure. As months passed, the house filled with a different kind of silence, one that was no longer suffocating but reflective. She and her husband existed in parallel, both changed, both aware that the future would not resemble the past. Whether their paths would remain connected was uncertain, but one truth had become clear to her. She was no longer defined by betrayal. She was defined by survival, by the courage to face truth without collapsing under it. Just before the ending of this story, we ask you to leave a comment sharing what you believe matters most after betrayal: forgiveness, self-respect, or starting over. Your words may help someone reading silently. In the end, she stood again at a doorway, this time not walking into someone else's secret, but stepping into her own life with intention. The pain had not vanished, but it had transformed into wisdom. She understood now that sometimes the door opens not to destroy us, but to force us to see what we have been avoiding, and in that seeing, to finally choose ourselves. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of your own struggles, or gave you even a small sense of hope, please like, share, and comment on this video. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive and lets others know they are not alone. And remember, healing is not about forgetting the past, but about building a future where your heart can breathe again.